What's going on, everybody? It's James Lamar. I'm back. I'm so glad to be back. It's felt like it's been a long time. I think it's been like a month or so since I posted my last video and the first video of the series, I guess you could call it, of What About Your Friends? And basically, if you watch the first episode, you'll know that, I basically gave a recount of certain things that I've experienced and I've endured in many of the friendships I've had over the years. So yeah, we're just gonna jump right back into it and get into episode 2. Basically, I don't know how I forgot to mention a very traumatic experience. With one of the friends that I had. Basically, it was back when I was 20 years old. So you're talking about 2010 at this point. I was in my first apartment. And basically I was living alone and I was paying all my bills and, doing everything myself. Now, it was not the easiest year. I was working for Winn-Dixie, a grocery store, and they were supposed to give me a raise that year, but the raise ended up being less than a quarter. So, I struggled and stuff from time to time during that year. Nonetheless, God made a way that I was able to continue, paying my bills and, paying my rent, even if, I was left with a few dollars at the end of the day. Nonetheless, around, I feel, September of 2010, I believe, because I know it was 2 months or so. So September of 2010, I had a friend, more so of an acquaintance, but we had some history as far as just, there were some years there already, a few years, in which I had initially met him. And so during the course of our friendship or acquaintanceship, there had been a few like hiccups as far as, us like bumping heads or whatever. I felt like he was really headstrong, and at times, not even at times, in those situations where we butt heads, oftentimes I felt like he was wrong or whatever it may be. But it wasn't enough to just, I guess, just be done with the person, just be done with them. Nonetheless, he basically was kicked out by his mom at the time that year because his mom had found out that he was gay. And, he called me saying that, distressed and basically asking me, could he stay with me, until I guess, he gets on his feet or whatever that may be. There was never really a clear timeline given, but I basically told him, I was like, when I thought about it, I was like, this could end like one or two ways. Like, this can make our like friendship or acquaintanceship stronger, and make that bond stronger, or it's gonna end really badly. And because of like the previous run-ins with each other as far as the butting of heads. So, but I have a heart and I am empathetic, and so, as I'm on the phone with him, I was like, I'm really big on respect. And so, if I allow you to come to stay with me for a while, you have to be respectful. Like, you have to respect my space. You have to respect me, all that kind of stuff. And basically, he came and brought whatever he could and so on and so forth. I allowed him to have some closet space in the living room and, so on and so forth. He slept on the couch. I had a 1-1, so he slept on the couch. I slept in my room, of course. And that was that. Over the course of time, there were just certain instances that were really like, what's going on? So first of all, I had a car. I had a 95 Honda Civic. That was my first car. And basically that car had a lot of problems with it. It encountered a lot of issues over the years. And so, you know, while he was staying there, he had his stepfather take a look at my vehicle. I had an issue with brakes or something. And so the stepdad looked at him and I guess did some work on my brakes about twice. Like, I believe it was 2 times. And so I think he felt like that was like the end all and be all. And then like you ended up applying for food stamps while you stayed with me, and you ended up getting those approved for those stamps. And so you put food in the house. For time to time. So yeah, just with those 2 things, I felt like he felt as though he had some autonomy over like my place and stuff. And so he was like trying out for a dance team at the time and all this kind of stuff. So basically he would, you know, want to go to practice and so on and so forth, but he didn't have a vehicle. So he would ask me if he could use my vehicle or whatever. I'm like, well, as long as you put gas in the car, so on and so forth. Mind you, so you're using my vehicle. So, you know, even if my vehicle has issues or problems or whatever, and you got your, a relative to, you know, take a look and fix some stuff, you're benefiting from my vehicle. You're benefiting from, you know, driving my vehicle. You know, it's not yours, it's mine. And then as far as like clothes and stuff was concerned, I found out that he was like going through my dirty laundry and like wearing some of my stuff. And then because like when I would go and do laundry, I would notice that there would be like these big ass like stains in the arm area or whatever. And I didn't sweat like that. I didn't sweat profusely or anything like that. So for that type of blue stain to be there in the armpits, and I knew he sweat a lot, like and heavily. And so, you know, I asked him about that. He said, you know, I think that it's so crazy because he got disrespectful when I asked him about that. And I told him like, why are you wearing my stuff without like asking me to do so? It's like, I'm not too keen on other people wearing my stuff. And well, at that time I wasn't or whatever. And, you know, it's just, even if that's the situation of if that's what you want to do, why not ask me ahead of time? Like, why, instead of just going and doing it and then me finding out about it once I'm going to do laundry. So, you know, he basically was disrespectful with his response and said that I had shared something with him that when I was younger, my grandmother used to get some hand-me-downs for me because she was a single grandparent raising 4 grandchildren, you know, so she didn't have, you know, a shitload of money to buy things and so on and so forth. So she, you know, would get me hand-me-downs. And so I'm not, you know, I'm familiar with that kind of stuff. So he says, oh, and I shared that with him. So he says, I wouldn't think a person who used to wear hand-me-downs wouldn't be okay with somebody else wearing their clothes. And I'm like, wow, like that's crazy to use something that I shared with you, a personal thing that I shared with you, and throw that shit up in my face. Like that's really disgusting. Number 2, it doesn't matter. Once those hand-me-downs were mine, they were mine. And I didn't share them and I didn't wear them with anyone else. They were my clothes at that point in time. So it's like this one thing doesn't equate to the next. Regardless, you should ask me first before you start wearing my stuff, you know? So regardless, you know, just overall, there were some little, you know, rifts throughout that whole thing. So at some point in time, you know, you had said that you wanted to borrow my car to go look for some jobs and all this kind of stuff. And I was at work and I got up to go to work. You had mentioned that to me. So I basically go to work and I'm at work and he messages me and he's like, oh, why didn't you, like, wake me to, you know, go with you? Why did you take the car, essentially? Because you knew I wanted to go look for jobs. That was never a confirmed thing. And so I'm just like, and regardless, it's my car. Like, what are you talking about? You know, it doesn't matter. I don't have to like consult with you regarding anything concerning my vehicle, first of all. But, you know, and I'm like, you know, I kind of was saying like, huh? Like, and I'm like, we didn't discuss, you didn't tell me for sure that that's what you were gonna do. So whatever. So, you know, he came and basically I had him come to my job. I said, you can come, you know, and you can come pick up the car too. It's fine, whatever. So if you can find a way up here. So he found a way up there and he came to get my car. And so there's some type of argument that ensues over that time period or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, you need to bring me my car. Oh, I'm gonna bring you your car back, but you know, so on and so forth. Like he got this attitude and whatever. You had them picked up a friend, so on and so forth. And then, you know, you came back to my job, you know, and then at this point in time, it's time for me to get off and, you know, whatever. So he comes and, you know, he gets in the passenger seat. The friend that he has is in the back and, you know, I drive my car. Already at that point in time, I had decided that, you know what, I'm not doing this anymore. At this point, it had been 2 months and, you know, this boy never paid rent. He never gave me a dime towards my rent or anything. Mind you, I was still paying all my bills myself. Rent, bills, everything else was being paid myself. Yes, you may have put gas back in the car, but that's the gas that you were using to take your trips to go to dance practice and go here and go there and go see friends and stuff like that. And I found out over time that basically you portrayed my apartment as if it was like your apartment with me, like as if we were sharing the space and this was our place together. No, you know? And at one point in time, you asked if you could have some friends over and all this kind of stuff. And I said, well, how many people? Because I'm not, again, that was my first year kind of like, you know, acting on my feelings for guys and stuff. So I was still very nervous, very much so in my shell. And I also didn't want to shit other people in my place. What turns into supposed to be no more than maybe like 5 people ended up being a whole house party. One night I came home from work and I'm just like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? So it had been quite a few things that had happened over time that was like, wow, this really isn't cool. And this guy really isn't respecting me nor my place. And, you know, I had a heart and I opened up my home when he needed a place to stay because his mom kicked him out because of his sexuality and he's shitting on me. So, you know, I had decided that, you know, once he came back, I was already like, I'm going to tell this dude he has to leave my place. So I basically, you know, left work. Him and his friend are in the car. We go back to my place. And I'm like, yeah, as soon as I get upstairs and change out of my work clothes and stuff, I'm going to tell this boy he has to go. So that's exactly what I did. So I came out. He was on, if I'm not mistaken, he was on my laptop. And him and the guy were sitting on my couch. And I was like, you know, hey, I need you to leave, you know. And I said it very calmly, just like I did just now. And, you know, that's it, you know. So he's like, like basically he was refusing to leave. And he was like, oh, you gonna hear me first. He came in my room and started like yelling at me and was all up in my face. And, you know, it was insane. It was absolutely insane. And, you know, I just was like, what the fuck? Like, how can you like basically like come at someone in that manner and all they've done is help you, you know, when you really didn't have any other place to go? And so it's baffling to me. So, you know, eventually like we're kind of like arguing back and forth. That goes back into the living room, and then he's literally still in my face, and the spit, I can just feel the spit just being, going in my face and stuff like that, by way of him yelling and stuff. And I'm like, you need to back up. Like, he was getting really close to me, to the point where his arms were kind of, touching me and stuff. So I'm like, please, like, back up, whatever. So eventually I have to say, hey, back up. Like, I have to touch him to, like, back up, because he's really, like, invading my personal space. And, once I did that, I feel like, he felt like that was his invitation to hit me. And, basically he punched me after that. To this day, I still have a scar. Yeah, it's on this side. I'll never forget, simply because of the scar. All that I remember is that I had like this big mirror and by my dining room table or whatever. It was like the wall was mirrored. And so just going back, basically he starts to fight me or whatever, and basically got me in a chokehold or like a lock, towards on the floor or whatever. And you had his friend was basically saying like, get off of him, whatever. Eventually he finally gets off of me or whatever. So I get up, and as I'm like rising up from the floor, I realized that there's blood. Like I saw a drop of blood on the floor, and it came from somewhere. I didn't know where it came from. And so I look in the mirror, and I notice that I'm bleeding from like by my eyebrow. Actually, it's not even just I noticed that I'm bleeding. There's blood literally all on the side of my face. And so I'm like, wow, like I cannot believe I'm bleeding. Mind you, I had never been in a fight. And I'm a lover, not a fighter. And so I had never been in a fight to that date. And I was 20 years old. So even with going through school and all that kind of stuff, like thankfully I had never been in a fight. So it's like, I don't really know, necessarily, I can do my best to defend myself, but I'm not a fighter. You know what I'm saying? So it's also like, I feel like, people I feel like they want to show their power. You know what I'm saying? They want to show their power and, all this kind of stuff over, certain people and things of that nature. And basically, I see the blood and I'm like, yeah, nigga, you gotta go, and then, oh, I'm not going nowhere, da 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 da. And I'm like, oh, really? You're not going anywhere? Okay, cool. All right. So I'm saying I'm gonna call somebody to make his ass go somewhere. So I call 911. I say I have someone in my home who refuses to leave, so on and so forth. And, he's literally on the phone with his cousin at this point and saying, oh, come get me, because because I swear if I go to jail for this nigga calling the cops on me, I swear I'm gonna really beat his ass and all this kind of stuff. It was fucking crazy. I was like, what the fuck is going on? What the fuck is going on? Like, I had never been through no shit like that. Ever. And I'm really like I'm really like bewildered, I don't really understand what all is happening. And it's all happening so fast and so quickly. And, eventually, his cousin comes, I guess, gives him a call, says they're downstairs, and he skips off. And then eventually the cops come. They come after, of course, and, he's gone, and they're thinking like it's a domestic dispute, like it's a couple and all. No, it ain't nothing like that. This is a friend who refused to leave my home after I explicitly stated that I needed them to leave. How you gonna get mad at me for telling you to leave my shit, that you don't pay rent, that you don't pay bills or anything like that, and you've been highly disrespectful towards me? But that's what people do, right? I was so upset regarding that whole thing. I had blood all over my shirt. I remember going to see one of my older sisters that night. it was just so traumatic. I really didn't understand. And I'm like, how can someone do that when you really just opened up your heart for them and to help them? People are really like fucked up, you know? And so that was one situation that I dealt with. Like, I can't believe I forgot to mention that in the first video. Then there was, you know, this guy, if you watch the video about my drinking and stuff like that, this was the guy that I said who I had my first drinking experience with. It was one of the guys who drove me and my other friend. We all drove to Miami that night, you know, on my 21st birthday or whatever. And we were cool for some time. I kind of like knew this person from the past, from him coming to church and all this kind of stuff. But this was us in our adulthood, like hanging out and stuff like that. And we had developed a friendship, and, you know, he was like a manager at McDonald's or something, you know, at some point in time. And, you know, but he wanted more, and he knew what I was doing for work. And, you know, I was doing, you know, I was working for the law firm, the first law firm that I ever started working at, which jump-started my career in the legal industry. And basically, you know, I did a lot for this person over time. Sometimes I pick him up. He would be like, oh, something's going on with his car, or, you know, the brother borrowed his car for the day. Could I come pick him up? Could he carpool with me to work, and so on and so forth? Sometimes he'd be like, oh, I left my wallet at home. Would you mind spotting me for lunch and stuff? I wouldn't get paid back for a lot of that stuff, you know, and just different things. Oh, and I'm saying I've jumped ahead. I meant to say that I actually, you know, made sure that he asked for help with his resume. So I revised his resume. I catered it to like what would look good to a firm and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, it was a certain team, not my team, that was hiring. And I was like, well, I'll see if I can get you in, you know, I'll pass along your resume and, you know, whatever. And, you know, if they want to interview you, I'm sure they'll call you and stuff. They did end up calling him. He was interviewed and he got the job. And this was off of my back. And basically, you know, over time, that's what happens as far as the carpooling, as far as the paying for lunch and different things of that magnitude. And, you know, we had like a disagreement about something or whatever at some point in time, you know, hanging out outside of work or whatever. And basically, you know, this person didn't want to be cool with me after that. And it was really awkward. It made things really awkward because it's like, we're like both working at the same place. And now I have to see this person like every day. And now I have to walk past you as if I don't know you, because that's what happens. Like, I walk past people as if I don't know them if I'm no longer cool with you. Because you're non-existent. You're Casper at this point. Like, like, I'm not gonna speak if we're not cool. For what? So, but it just made things awkward, and it was very hurtful because, like, again, I felt like I had done so much for this friend. I put this nigga on, period. And I did a lot of that with a lot of people. There have been certain people in my past that I have gotten jobs. And literally when it came down time for these people to show up for orientation or to show up for their first day, they'd go MIA. And so this is me putting myself out there, you know, putting my reputation on the line to aid and help other people. And meanwhile, they give me a slap in my motherfucking face. So, yeah. That happened like twice with, you know, 2 different people or whatever, as far as like them actually getting a job, you know. This was this was like for Winn-Dixie at the time, but still, it's regardless, like whatever job it was a job. And I was asked you know, to do this favor. And I came through and I followed through on my end. And then when these people needed to show up, they said, fuck this and fuck James. Aggy as fuck. Like, it is so insane what people will do. So, yeah, that was another situation. And then, you know, again, as I'm into, you know, I finally, you know, accept my sexuality, and I'm hanging out, you know, with different people as far as like the gay community and stuff like that. You know, I meet this other friend, and basically this guy was a mess. This guy was a mess. And I am going to end this video right now because I cannot believe that we already reached 25 minutes. And I will no longer be making videos that are longer than 30 minutes, wishfully speaking. So what I thought was going to be wrapped up in episode 2 will now be in episode 3. And so, yeah, it's definitely leading up to, you know, what I needed to discuss so far. These are some of the main friendships and the main scenarios that I've dealt with people that have not been great experiences. But yeah, I am so happy to be back. I am so happy to be back, and I'm looking forward to 2023. Wishfully speaking, I'll make the episode 3 before year end. Idealistically, that's what I would like to happen. So we'll see if we can make that happen. But thank you guys so much for tuning in once again to James Lamar, the King James Version. Yes, God. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for a wonderful 2022 and for supporting my channel as I relaunched it this year. If you guys could like the video, of course, that's going to help with my videos being in the algorithm to reach other people. If you could subscribe, if you haven't subscribed already, please create a YouTube account to subscribe to my channel. You can also click on that bell notification so you'll be notified anytime that I post a new video for you guys. I appreciate all the love and all the support. Feel free to leave a comment if you like as well. And yeah, take care and Happy New Year. Okay, bye. Did it cut off?